Welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, and it's Monday, December 2nd. Time to look ahead at Week 14 schedule, make some win-loss picks for every NFL game. But before we do that, we take a look at last week's picks and own up to our mistakes. And before I look at my picks, I need to say bravo, a big round of applause to the audience who go 14-1 in the poll results. Very impressive. The only game y'all got wrong were the Bengals over the Steelers. You guys did take Cincinnati, and that was incorrect. The Steelers did win. So I organized all of your answers here in terms of favorites. Let's go down the list. What you guys picked game for game. The Bills were the heaviest favorites at 90%, followed by Houston at 89%, then Seattle at 88%. That game was actually kind of close. So was the Texans game. The Lions were favored by 87%, and if not for a coaching decision, maybe they would have lost, but they did get the win. The Bucs at 87% as well. Did need overtime to beat Carolina, but they did get the dub. The Cowboys at 85% won comfortably. The Chiefs at 83% should have lost, but they didn't. Whatever black magic is going on did work out for them. Aiden O'Connell, just watch the snap next time, man. Just watch the snap. Don't call for the silent count and then look away. That's the only problem for the Raiders. But Washington did get the dub pretty convincingly. They were picked at 80% this week. The Colts at 76% needed a 2-point conversion to get the win, but did convert, did get the dub. The Vikings you chose at 73%, a 1-point game, very close, an important come from behind win, and then a Kyler Murray interception to seal it. But you guys were right. You guys took the Vikings, and then you also took the Rams, who did not score any points at halftime, but did power through in the second half. The Rams were chosen at 72%. You guys also took the Chargers at 70%, and that one was right. The Packers at 69%, the Bengals at 61%, and lastly, the Eagles at 57%. But I did take this screenshot this morning, and I was pretty sure that right before the game, the margin was actually much closer. I believe it was 52-48 when kickoff happened on Sunday afternoon. So those were very impressive. You guys did take Denver at the moment. Over 200 people have voted, and it's about an 86% margin in favor of the Broncos tonight. And I agree with that. I think that's going to happen. So if it does, only one incorrect. What an impressive week by y'all. That brings your overall record this season to 134-60, and that is the nicest win percentage I could imagine. An accuracy of exactly 69%. Very, very nice indeed. But I cannot say I had as good of a record. I went 10-5 this week, and I predicted 4 upsets that did not happen. This was a great week to pick favorites. There were only 2 underdogs, according to Vegas, that did win this week. The Steelers on the road and the Eagles on the road as well. Those were the only 2 teams that were getting points by Vegas and actually won straight up. So I was wrong. These were the 5 games I picked incorrectly. I agreed with y'all on the Bengals. I thought off the bye in a desperate situation they would get the dub, but the Steelers hold strong at 9-3. I think they will win the division pretty comfortably. So the Bengals, I got wrong. I also took the Dolphins on Thanksgiving, and the day after I made this pick, after I got home from that Chargers-Ravens game, I looked at the weather for this game, and as soon as I saw it was going to be snowing, I was like, yeah, that's the wrong pick. I deserve the L. So I did not correct the record after the fact. I mentioned it in some videos, but I did not change it. I'm taking the L on Miami. On Thanksgiving, that was a bad call. And then on Sunday, I did take the Falcons to win. I thought off a bye, short week for the Chargers, early window on the road. Why would the Falcons lose this game? It made no sense why the Chargers were favored. But they were favored for a reason. Even that J.K. Dobbins, their defense, did show up, and Derwin James sealed it. A pick 6, though, was critical, along with a missed kick by Younghoe Koo. So kind of shocking that the Chargers can win without a single touchdown on defense. Even on the road, that was a very impressive victory by LA. Chargers at 8-4. As a Chargers fan, I'll happily take it, but I did take Atlanta. I was wrong there. I also took the Cardinals to win, and up until the final drive, it looked like that was the right side. The Cardinals were winning for the majority of that game, and the Vikings just found a way at the end in the fourth quarter. Darnold powered back. And I really did not like the coaching decision by Jonathan Gannon to kick a field goal and go up 6 points with like 3.5 minutes left. I don't understand that decision. I kind of get it. They did have an opportunity. They got the ball back under 2 minutes. They only needed a field goal to win. However, they threw an interception and it didn't work out. I think if you're on the road up 3, going up 6 does not help you at all. We've seen a lot of teams power back from a 6-point lead. All they need is a touchdown. And if you're up 3, you kind of incentivize them to maybe settle for overtime and a potential tie. Maybe they kick a field goal instead of going for it on 4th down to convert a touchdown. So I don't like that decision. I think that the Cardinals should have gone for it on 4th down. I believe it was a 4th and 6 from their opposing 16-yard line in the red zone. I think you got to go for it in that situation. I think that was the wrong decision, but I'm not a coach. That's just what I would have done. It didn't work out for them. They still lost. The field goal was irrelevant. So I will move on, but I really did not like that call by the Cardinals. The 5th game I got wrong were the Ravens over the Eagles. The Eagles did win, and it did require some missed kicks by Justin Tucker, but they did go up by 2 scores in the 4th quarter, and maybe they would have kicked another field goal if it wasn't as out of hand. The Eagles probably deserve to win outright. So good for them, very impressive. They remain right on the heels of the Detroit Lions. The Ravens probably lose the division, given they're 2 games back of the Steelers in the loss column. But every other game I did get correctly. I did take the Lions, who barely beat the Bears. It was the Bears' fault, but betting against Eberflus is usually the bet. I think now that he's gone, the Bears probably look even more interesting and competitive. I think the Bears are like right there. They've been very competitive against the Vikings, the Packers, and the Lions, all in division. They've had some close losses, and I think they get back in the win column pretty soon. But the Cowboys beat the Giants by a full touchdown. I do believe the Giants are outright tanking. The Raiders could not beat the Chiefs. Unfortunately, Aiden O'Connell looked away at the last second. Got to pay attention, man. Got to focus in crunch time. The Colts did find a way. Impressive game-winning drive by Anthony Richardson. Love to see it from the young player. The Seahawks do win. Their defense really steps up in the second half. They shut out the Jets and also score on defense to get the win. Really nice win by Geno Smith. Commanders won comfortably over the Titans, and that game was never in question, 28-0 in the second quarter. The Texans barely beat the Jaguars. Jags almost won, if not for a overthrown house call to Brian Thomas. They would have won outright. That one should have gone to Jacksonville, but with Lawrence unavailable, it did not work out. Brian Thomas, though, really impressive rookie out of LSU. The Rams did beat the Saints, scoreless in the first half, but found a way. That's all that matters. Good for Sean McVay and the Rams. Bucs win in overtime. That game was way closer than it needed to be, but good for the Panthers. They improved their draft position and also competitive enough to feel good about what they have done in the building. Panthers playing better than before. Lastly, I also took the Bills, who did win comfortably 35-10 over the Niners. I believe the Niners season is over. And then last game on the week, I did take the Browns to lose. Give me the Broncos tonight. I agree with y'all. I'm taking Denver over the Browns. But given I went 10-5 this week, that brings my overall record this season to 124-70. I am 10 games back of y'all. I lost 5 games over the last calendar week. Last Monday, I took the Chargers, and then 4 games incorrect that you guys got right this week. I picked some upsets, and none of them happened. I was on the wrong side this week. So that's my record this week. Against the spread, I did go 3-3, pretty average. I did swap out a couple picks, but the ones I swapped them for were correct themselves. The Seahawks did cover only 1 point. And then the Bills -6 also covered pretty comfortably. The Cardinals did lose straight up, but +4 did cover the spread. Those are the 3 I got right. I did take the Falcons +1.5. They did not cover. They lost by 4. The Dolphins lost by well over a touchdown. And then so did the Titans. Those 3 were bad picks. So 3-3, an average week against the spread, brings my overall record this season to 39-31-1. I am still 8 games above 500. I didn't lose any ground this week, but I did not pick up any ground either. So hoping to have a winning week next week. And now let's take a look at that week 14 schedule. There are 6 teams on bye, so only 13 games to pick. Those 6 teams inactive in week 14 would be the Broncos, the Colts, the Patriots, the Commanders, the Ravens, and the Texans. Let's move on, though, to these win-loss picks. In Detroit on Thursday night, a very close game between the division rival Packers and Lions. I believe the Packers are going to win this one. Usually, over the last few years, the road team has won these division games. That's what happened earlier this season in the rain. Jordan Love wasn't fully healthy. The Lions did win in Lambeau. But last season on Thanksgiving, they lost to the Packers. They came out swinging with a 50-yard pass on the first play to Christian Watson. So I could see a similar situation. The quarterback for the Packers is way healthier this time around, and the Lions defense is very banged up. If you look at their depth chart after last week's game, they are not 100%. They were already missing Aiden Hutchinson. Now there's a lot more other players who are at least banged up, questionable at the moment. So Lions really going to need to lean on offense this week. I worry about their defense at the moment, and I think they are vulnerable against a team like this that matches up very well against them, does not fear the Lions at all. I think the Packers will win. I'm going to take Green Bay. I think Josh Jacobs playing excellent right now. Love will step it up, and one of those receivers will get it going. If Romeo Doubs is healthy again, I definitely trust the Packers. I think Jaden Reed and Christian Watson can really have some explosive plays and get out to an early lead. So not going to be an easy win, but I will take Green Bay. I do believe on the road they will beat the Lions. But on Sunday, the Titans host the Jaguars in a rainy matchup in Nashville. The Titans, I think, have the home field advantage for sure. The Jags probably are going to start Mac Jones. I think off the concussion for Lawrence, he probably misses another game. Although the Titans looked really bad against Washington, I don't think the Jags are in the same caliber as the Commanders right now. And Tennessee usually plays well in division. We saw them play very tough against Houston the other week, and this game in division as well at home, I think will go in their favor. So similar to the Dolphins, for some reason in Florida, the Titans usually play well against Florida teams. And although this game is at home, I think they get the dub. Give me the Titans over the Jaguars. I think the Jags are going to be in contention for a top 3 pick. The Dolphins host the Jets, and I'm definitely taking Tua. I think with extra rest at home, no weather to worry about. The Dolphins are pretty desperate. They need to make a big push for the playoffs if they have any chance at the wild card spot. So big game for them against a beatable team like the Jets. Definitely not picking New York. The Jets are ass. Rodgers sucks at this point. I think it's his last season. I think he will retire when this year is over. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's not going to be a return to New York. If he plays again, it's not going to be with the Jets. So the Jets lose. The Dolphins get another dub. Kind of irrelevant. I doubt they actually make the playoffs, but still an important win for the Dolphins. The Vikings host the Falcons, and Kirk Cousins does return to his former team. Maybe he wakes up and plays better. Last week was terrible, though. 4 interceptions. His velocity was really lacking, and I think he's washed. I think similar to Rodgers, that Achilles injury has just really impacted him too much. Maybe given he's younger, next season he plays better, but I really have a hard time believing against Brian Flores and that lights out defense he will find a way. So Bijan Robinson going to have to step up in order for them to have a chance. I don't think it works out. I'm going to take the Vikings. I think if the Lions lose on Thursday, the Vikings know they have a shot at the division. They button things up. They play very well against their former quarterback. They will shut down Kirk Cousins, get the dub in Minnesota. Skol Vikings, that home field advantage going to be too much to overcome for Cousins under the bright lights. Give me the Sam Darnold Vikings over the Kirk Cousins Falcons. I think we might see Michael Penix at worst next week, but perhaps even in the fourth quarter. I think the Vikings are going to end Cousins' tenure in Atlanta. I think he'll get traded this offseason, and Penix will be the guy moving forward. If the Falcons lose their lead in the division, why not pivot to Michael Penix? Cousins' time will be over. Falcons lose, Vikings win, Minnesota at home. The Giants are going to host the Saints, and both of these teams are really bad. I don't really see any upside for either team, but the Giants, I think, are actually trying to tank. Meanwhile, the Saints, not convinced that they're that terrible just yet. So the Saints have a lot more to play for. Their excitement in the locker room is definitely more palpable. I think the Giants are very upset about the Daniel Jones benching. There's a lot of injuries on the O-line and defensive line. I don't trust the Giants at all. Although I do think they're more competitive with Drew Lock as opposed to Tommy DeVito, I still think the Saints are better. I think the Saints will win. Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara step up. There's also a chance that Chris Olave returns off of IR. He's missed 4 games and maybe he returns, but perhaps he's on IR for the rest of the season. Even without him, I think they can win. So give me the Saints. I don't trust the Giants at all. In Philly, the most obvious pick of the week is definitely the Eagles over the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are playing better. I think there's some encouraging signs in that building. I think Bryce Young has earned another season as their quarterback, but the Eagles have potentially the MVP. Saquon Barkley going to run all over them, and there is no shot. The Eagles, even without Devontae Smith, will blow them out. I think a final score of like 42-14. I really am 100% convinced that the Eagles win by potentially 30 plus points. Give me the Eagles over the Panthers on Sunday. In Pittsburgh, the Steelers are not going to lose 2 in a row to the Browns. The first game was on Thursday in the snow, where Tomlin has a very bad track record in division on a short week. This one is on a Sunday. No concerns. If anything, it's a short week for the Browns, who play on Monday. And I have no faith in Jameis here. I think on the road, it's a completely different story. The Browns are not going to win in Pittsburgh. Definitely give me the Steelers. They'll get their 10th win of the season. Tampa Bay is going to host the other Pirates. The Raiders travel to Tampa, and there's no way I'm taking Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders. Maybe Brock Bowers plays lights out of his mind, and they stay competitive, but it was such a deflating way to lose against the Chiefs. I really don't think they bounce back in a big way. Like, against a divisional opponent, it's a much different story than cross-conference game against the Bucs, who are right on the heels of the Falcons. If the Falcons lose, the Bucs can win and reclaim this division tiebreaker. They need a full win more than the Falcons to have any chance, because the Falcons swept them this season. They have the tiebreaker in their favor, and Tampa needs a full win more than the Falcons in order to get that playoff spot from the NFC South. So definitely going to take the Buccaneers. They barely beat Carolina last week, but I think they win more comfortably over the Raiders. I think Tampa is the better Pirate this season. The Cardinals, though, host the Seahawks in a very, very interesting game. This game has major tiebreaker implications in the NFC West. If the Cardinals lose, they probably have no shot to overtake Seattle. The Seahawks won that first game in the rain a couple weeks ago, and this one in Arizona I think will go to the Cardinals. I think weather was a major factor. Arizona cannot show up at all when it's wet, so the rain slowed them down. I think under the dome, it's not a factor at all. I think the Cardinals will step up. A close loss to the Vikings last week. They're not going to lose 3 in a row. They lost some momentum due to the bye, and I think here is where they get back on track. So they're going to knot up this division. Both teams will have 7 wins if the Cardinals do win, and the Seahawks would have a 2-game lead if they get the dub over Arizona. So I think this division is going to go down to the wire. It's going to be tight all throughout, and only one team will get that playoff spot. I think the Cardinals knot this division up. I think they win at home over Seattle. They will not get swept by Geno Smith. The win percentage is very close to 500 for both teams in the overall history of this match. I'm going to take Arizona to tie it up this week. I think they win over Geno Smith. In LA, the Rams are going to host the Bills, and they're also right on the heels in this division, but I don't think they get the win. I think they lose to Buffalo, who I believe are a Super Bowl team, and right on the heels of the Chiefs, still want that tiebreaker. They did lock up the division, so there's a chance that they fall asleep, but given their battle with Kansas City, I think at the moment, it's too early for that to happen. I think they win comfortably over the Rams, who struggled to score any points in the first half against the Saints. The Bills are way, way better than New Orleans. So Buffalo will win comfortably. I think the Bills are on pace for the number 1 seed in their conference, and I think Josh Allen is the MVP this season. I would bet on that today. The Niners host the Bears in a very interesting game. This could be it in terms of the season for San Francisco. That division is very close, so even if they lose, it's not going to be over entirely, but I think the Bears are going to put up a really tough fight. They've been so close the last several weeks. Since the bye, they have a lot of close one-possession losses, and now that they finally fired Eberflus, I think the building is galvanized, definitely feeling better about their chances. So I think, if anything, it'll be very close coming down to the wire, and they will call the timeout this time. They're not going to let the clock just run out. So it's going to be down to a field goal, very close matchup, but with all the injuries in San Francisco, I'm just not going to take them. I'm going with the Bears. I understand if you think that's the wrong call. The Bears do not look great, but I really like what I'm seeing from Caleb Williams lately. He has no turnovers the last like 4 or 5 weeks. He's been very clean in the pocket. And although he gets sacked sometimes, he's starting to throw some touchdowns. I like their offense with the new offensive coordinator. With no Eberflus, I think finally the curse might be lifted. I think they snap their losing streak and perhaps end the year for the Niners. The Niners, I think, are done. I don't see them competing at all. I think this week it's kind of sealed. They won't be completely eliminated, but I think mentally the season will be over. So with the injury to Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey now unavailable, Ayuk's been on IR, Debo's not 100%, neither is Kittle, neither is Juwan Jennings even, and now Brock Purdy with a shoulder injury. It's just too much. If Ricky Pearsall is their healthiest player on offense, and he was shot in September, I'm done picking them to win. I think it's over for San Francisco. This game will go to the Bears. The Chiefs on Sunday night host the Chargers, and it's about fucking time. The Chiefs are going to lose. Once again, Jim Harbaugh deals them a loss. Typically, the Chargers play way better on the road for some reason. I do not know why, but they are far more likely to win on the road at Arrowhead than they are at home at SoFi. So Justin Herbert finally going to get the monkey off of his back, finally going to beat Mahomes. I think the defense is the reason why. I do not trust the offense that much, but the Chiefs offense also reeling, and the Chiefs kicker is a big problem. If they had Harrison Butker, I'd probably take Kansas City, but similar to the Justin Tucker problems in Baltimore, I don't trust their backup, and Cameron Dicker is the best kicker on the field this week. Give me the Chargers to win on the road over the Chiefs. It feels a bit misguided, but I think this game is very, very meaningful to them. And I think in division, they announce they are here to hang with the champs. The Chargers win on the road. Chiefs lose 20-17. Going to be a very close game. I think the defense plays a major role, but the Chargers win in the kicking game, have the advantage. I will take LA to get the dub. In Dallas on Monday, final game of the week, the Cowboys host the Bengals, and I am going to take Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I think they have too much firepower to deal with. The Cowboys defense is stepping up lately, but I think with CeeDee Lamb banged up, not 100%, there's just not enough on that side of the ball. Cooper Rush, I don't think will win against the Bengals. So I'm going to take Cincinnati for sure. I do think they will get back on track. It's about time that the Bengals get a dub. So give me Cincinnati. As I mentioned, there are 6 teams on bye: the Broncos, the Colts, the Patriots, the Commanders, the Ravens, and the Texans, all inactive this week. But here are my win-loss picks. I'm taking the Packers in division on the road over the Lions in Detroit. Give me the Packers. The Titans, I think, will win over the Jags at home in the rain. I'm taking Tennessee. In Miami, the Dolphins, I think, will beat the Jets. The Jets suck. The Vikings are going to end the season for Kirk Cousins. I don't think he'll be the starter anymore after this loss. Give me the Vikings over the Falcons in Minnesota. The Giants are tanking. Give me the Saints to win on the road over New York. The Eagles will dominate the Panthers. That one's the most obvious pick of the week. And then the Steelers will bounce back. They will not get swept by Cleveland. Steelers win at home. The Battle of the Pirates, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will reclaim the division. They will beat Las Vegas at home. The Cardinals will keep this division interesting, have it knotted up at 7 wins. The Cardinals win over Seattle in Arizona. The Rams are going to be right behind them, but get the loss. I think the Bills are going to get a playoff bye. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC after this game. But the Niners season is over. They lose to Chicago. Bears win on the road. Now the Eberflus is gone. The Chargers win on the road and force the Chiefs to fall back to the number 2 seed in the AFC. The Cincinnati Bengals finally get a win, finally try to salvage their year. It's a little too late, though. Bengals win on the road over the Cowboys. So those are my win-loss picks for Week 14, but I also give you 6 picks against the spread, and here they are. I believe there are some good upsets this week. I like a few underdogs. I believe the Cowboys are going to lose straight up, but I could see them playing very competitively on defense, and I think 6 points is too many. I'm going to take the Cowboys to cover. I think they only lose by a field goal at home on Monday night. I think the Cowboys +6 is the correct pick, but the Bengals will win outright. The Bears, I think, will win outright over the Niners, and they're getting 5.5 points, so love that for them. Definitely give me the Chicago Bears plus 5.5. I think at worst they cover, but I do believe they win straight up. I think it'll be a field goal type of game. The Packers, I think at worst will keep it to a field goal as well, but I think they win straight up. Give me the Packers plus 3.5. That extra half point is a huge advantage, very valuable against the spread. The underdogs, I think, are the correct pick here in the Lions-Packers game. The Chargers, I think, are also the right side to pick as well. Plus 3.5. The Chiefs never cover. They have very few wins that are more than a possession this year. So at worst, it'll probably be a 1-point game, kind of like the Raiders game last week. A field goal will decide it. If you get more than 3 points, definitely give me the Chargers plus 3.5. That is definitely the safer pick. But the Cardinals are favorites to win, but not by enough, in my opinion. I think they will win by 3 points, minus 2.5. I'll take Arizona at home. Definitely give me the Cardinals, minus 2.5. But the Bills, I think, win by a touchdown, minus 4. I definitely prefer the Bills over the Rams. Those are my picks. The Cowboys plus 6. The Bears plus 5.5, the Packers plus 3.5, the Chargers plus 3.5, the Cardinals minus 2.5, and then the Bills minus 4. Those are my picks in week 14. If you enjoyed, hit that like button for me and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I give you rankings throughout the week. I'll update these on Saturday based on any injury report news that I think is relevant. But for the most part, I am going to stay put on these picks. So until then, I'll see you next time. My name's Adam Riancho, and thank you for watching Nice and Blunt.